Zimbabwe is basically a farming country. You and I know this. And over the past 15 to 20 years, we've fallen behind with countries like Kenya and South Africa and now Mozambique, I believe. Maybe now ahead of us closing in on the gap. So the difference has been mostly because of lack of compliance in our produce. Because of that, most of our farmers or most of our producers have not had access to world markets. The minimum requirement for that is GlobalGap. So Fairmark is a company that is working with GlobalGap, that is local. We also work in other African countries. But this being home, we thought we should give it special attention. And the motivation is to try and give access to our local producers, value chains that are sustainable, export markets, European markets. Obviously with the bigger picture to grow the economy of Zimbabwe and to bring back the Zimbabwean farming industry into the limelight again.
It's very hard for us as producers who've never been to the European market and don't understand the European market to understand what they're actually looking for from us. So I think it's a very good bridging gap so that we can bridge that difference.
So GlobalGap standard is based on risk assessments. It's a HACCP-based standard, hazard analysis and critical control points.
There has been this misconception that European markets are not accessible. Zimbabwe is under sanctions, so you can't export into European markets. But that's all just myths. It depends on markets. Some markets will take produce from what are called contested lands. But the biggest thing is compliance, and that's what we are trying to promote here. This event helps in the sense that GlobalGap being the minimum requirement, being the widest known standard on the planet, accepted food safety standard on the planet, and that's what we are teaching here. That's what we are discussing. That's what we are sharing ideas about. We are going through the control points and compliance criteria of GlobalGap, basically discussing how you can get GlobalGap, how you can achieve it. When an auditor comes, what are they looking at, and how much you need to invest to get GlobalGap, and what are the things that GlobalGap can do for you as a farmer, and what GlobalGap can do for a country.
You know, guys that are doing GlobalGap for the first time, and I think it'll be really, really beneficial to them. Even as somebody that's been part of the program for a couple of years, it's nice to be able to speak to other people and hear the way they're doing things. So even if even if you don't pick up new information in the course structure, and networking with the other people, you can find out the problems that they've encountered and how they've managed to address those problems.
Yeah, the training has really been very insightful. We have really learned a lot on GlobalGap, which is very, very a key standard if our farmers are to participate in the export markets like the EU markets, which are now requiring us to show that we are producing our produce according to good agricultural practices. Coming from a farmer organization, we really appreciate the training. We are hoping that with the information that we have gained, we are going to develop the capacity of our small-scale farmers so that they can comply to GlobalGap requirements.
The first thing is there must be a reference system for each field, orchard or greenhouse, or yard or plot or livestock building or pen. Okay, so you will see that
like any other business, you have to put in money to make money. And if you are targeting an international market, if you have to be competitive, it obviously has a value on it, a price tag on it. And unfortunately, there's an infrastructure that needs to be put in. There's investment in worker health and safety. There's investment in various different aspects of the standard that cannot be ignored. But it's not impossible, it's doable. I mean, I have worked in Kenya where small-scale farmers are certified and have their product going into the world's biggest markets. So yes, it's expensive, but expensive is relative. And I would like to say it's not impossible. It can be done.
There's very little local support. So as an exporter in Zimbabwe, we've got to apply for about 9 different permits in order to export. A lot of those are standards development levies, national biotechnology authorities, all sorts of permits like that, which should be assisting with the knowledge that we having to do for something like GlobalGap. And we have to pay for the permits, but we're not getting anything back from the structures in place to give us support in implementing the standards that we need to actually export to the global market. So like Standards Development Levy, they're supposed to be enforcing standards when GlobalGap is a standard. So Standards Development Levy should be assisting in the training of meeting those standards.
Policymakers have talked about mechanizing, computerizing, and in my own words, complicating the process. It needs not to be complicated. It needs not to be mechanized by high technology or anything. You just need, the thing with farming is you just need to have the seed, have the support, have the right plant protection products, use the right fertilizers, comply with the standards like GlobalGap, and you can access those markets. You don't even need to be politically correct. You don't even need to have complicated technology. In fact, the European market is more interested in produce that is farmed in the most natural ways possible. This is why you see the world is going organic. And I know of companies that are exporting baobab from here, from Zimbabwe. So we don't need to complicate it. We just need to start doing it. To start where we are. There is no time where we can all have complicated tractors, complicated harvesters, complicated irrigation systems, hydroponics. We don't need that. We just need to have the farmers and the basic tools that they can use and start farming. So if you have a land that is worked by the very basic technology, the African way, mapadza, you can export. You just need to get a little bit of support from the government or from people that are already in it, and we can do it. We don't even need to complicate it. I would just literally go and copy and paste how the Kenyans have done it. The key aspects are having big commercial farmers working with small scale farmers and assisting each other. So where you would have a big commercial farmer that has already access to all the expensive things that we spoke about just now, and markets support small scale farmers around them to feed into their pack house or their line, and then the commercial farmer exports on behalf of the small scale producers and supports them like that. So it will be technical support, market support, maybe support with advice, support with water, support with inputs, whatever it may be. This is the only way I see how it would function. But having said that, also there's not many commercial farmers left in this country, so it has to be looked at a little bit differently from how the Kenyans have done it. But that is the perfect model in my view.